Everybody, welcome to a special edition Wednesday night episode of the Arkansas Diamond Report with Dudley Dawson. I'm Jason Patterson. Thank y'all for joining in with me here. I'm going to adjust my background here a little bit too because I'm trying to blend in with the Field of Dreams, and I don't want that to happen. That wouldn't be good. So, I want to thank everybody for joining us tonight, and let's get that taken care of. Let's go back right there. There we go. That'll work. Looks like I'm not blending into the field, kind of like the players did there, and with their late Ray Liotta there, and that was a great movie. But want to thank you all for joining us tonight. Let's bring him in. Dudley, how's it going, man?
Doing good. How about yourself?
I'm trying not to drift into the corn tonight. Hopefully, I don't do that. So.
Bad things can happen if that happens,
Oh man, I'm gonna tell you what. If I drift off, that'd be the end of it. Oh my god. So, how's everything been going for you?
Yeah, good. I guess baseball season. The full slate of baseball. I should say most of the full slate of baseball starts tomorrow. Major League Baseball. There's a couple of games already been moved to Friday because of the weather, which was certainly a factor yesterday at the Little Rock, Arkansas game, and I know they were the fans and probably the winning team, maybe not the losing team, was glad that it only went 7 innings, 11-0 win for Arkansas. Kind of gets them set up to, obviously, for the big series this weekend with LSU, one that you will be covering for me because Prater and I will be going to get our first gander at the grandson, Arthur, the A-Train Dawson. And we're pretty pumped. We're pretty pumped about that. We have plans to when he goes to bed, we'll put baseball on.
Yeah. Hey man, yeah, that you and Brooks can sit there and talk about how the first month of dadhood for him has been going.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's sleepy. I like it. He's paying for his raising now. It's my mom used to say.
Yeah, because when my little one was born, I just got to my first base when I was in the Air Force, and I was a firefighter, and I was working 24 on, 24 off, and so my mom, she was a school teacher over here at Rogers Heritage, and she said, "I'm off." This was the 1st of June. I just got out of school. I have 3 months off. If you need me for 3 months, I'll live in Missouri with you for 3 months. And I was like, a month is good. A month is fine. That's about it.
Yeah, got to be careful with those things. And that he used to live in, or they used to live in Nashville, but moved up closer to be closer to her. She has 5 brothers and sisters, and so that's a lot of babysitting help. They're most of them live in Williamsport, Pennsylvania, where they have the Little League World Series. Obviously, looking forward to going to that and taking the A train one of these days. And also, they'll give me the opportunity to go to games in Philadelphia and Pittsburgh and add them to my list of baseball stadiums I've been at.
It's really good. Yeah. And also Otis, I put there on the crawl too. Otis, he's rubbing some elbows with pockets tonight.
Yeah, he's real close. I mean, or at least he was when he took that picture that he put up on social media. I know he's pumped. I tried to get him to stay over there, but he's driving back during the middle of the night. He likes to drive at night. And he'll be at practice in the morning, football practice. I'm going to go over there too, take a good look at at him, and but I'm sure he'll be bleary eyed. But that's who he is. He loves his Lakers just like I love my Celtics, and they get close. He goes to see them, and he did tell me he's Oklahoma City's gotten good and priced him out, so he's going to go to Memphis from now on to see him.
Aha. Yeah, I was going to say it's amazing what happens whenever you get a couple of good draft picks again and start winning again. Things tend to go on the up there. So
yeah, Jebediah Chet Holgram. He's looking like a cool Abraham Lincoln over there now. Has been a godsend for them, and obviously Shea Gilgeous Alexander was that was a great little draft pick thing they picked up there.
Yeah, him and Lou Dort both, because I'm telling you, man, that backcourt, that's pretty solidified. So
yeah, and obviously got two Razorbacks over there. That's pretty good too. So.
Yeah, I heard there's a couple of good Razorbacks. Did you see that mural that they painted for Jalen and Fort Smith? That was beautiful, man. That was incredible. I'd love to see that too. That was really great detail that they put into that. So let's get down to the task at hand there. So yesterday, 7 inning win by the Razorbacks. They scored 7 runs in the 6th inning to help put this thing away, and that was topped by a Viheva Aloy grand slam, his first as a Razorback. Uh, he brought that Hawaiian heat, like I put in my story, to the plate last night, even though it was cold.
Yeah, and I looked it up today. 13 games ago, he was hitting 190. He's now at 273. I think he's reached base in all 13 of those games. He's got a 6-game hitting streak going. He's tied for home runs and lead with 5, and he's got team high 24 RBIs. Of course, 8 coming on the 2 grand slams that he's gotten. He's heating up, and he's the player that I think we all thought he would be. He was getting a little heat early when he was chasing everything. You could have bounced it up there and he'd have swung at it, but he's been much more selective, and he's showing us now why he was such a big pickup for Coach Van Horn. It was funny. Aloy, who's from Hawaii, he doesn't like the cold at all. He was all wrapped up yesterday with the face mask and putting his hands in his pockets during as much as he could. The opening day and yesterday were probably even though he hit grand slam yesterday, were probably not his most happiest times around here. So
I saw that Dave was kind of chuckling, going back and forth with him a little bit, seeing how he was been adjusting to the cold. I thought it was kind of nice with the banter, him talking about that in the press conference yesterday evening. And, if his bat can start to heat up a little bit as this temperature starts to rise, I'm telling you, I really think that this offense will start to put up some runs, some serious numbers. That's going to start to send some shockwaves because we know the pitching's there. We're just waiting for that offense to come back around.
Yeah, and I just put up our preview of the baseball game not too long ago, and now I'm going to have to make a change because LSU has made the decision not to send out their top pitcher, Luke Holman, against Hagen Smith. They are moving him to Friday, and they're TBA right now. So that's an interesting decision by them. We all thought, I think TV guys thought as well, the national TV guys thought they were going to get a Thursday night matchup between Hagen Smith and Luke Holman. It now looks like TBA. They're pushing Holman back to Friday, and that's interesting. That's one of the stories of today. Brady Taggart is being moved to the 3rd game this weekend. Mesa Molina is going to pitch the 2nd. He says he's not hurt or anything like that, but it's just a situation where he wants to give him an extra day, and they believe they've found some mechanical things with him and Molina that will give them an opportunity to be better served this weekend. They both had too many walks last weekend. Didn't get in the strike zone as much as they can. We know that the Monday night, the Thursday night starter is really good at throwing strikes. I mean, he's fanned 60% of the people that have walked to the plate against him this year. 67 strikeouts in 29 innings.
That's an incredible. Is that right now? Is that tops in Arkansas history as far as percentage goes?
I'd have to check the notes on that. He's moving obviously up the career list with strikeouts. But I mean, I've been around this team and covered it for a long time. I don't ever remember anything like this early in the season. They've had a lot of guys who've thrown a lot of strikeouts in the history over here, but none that has had the accelerated amount that Hagen has to start the year. Every time he strikes somebody out, he just adds another dollar sign to what he's going to get in the draft. I'm still hoping he's there at 7 when the St. Louis Cardinals draft, and think he'd make a fine St. Louis Cardinal, and certainly would be a reason to go up there and get a press pass instead of buying a ticket.
Yeah, that is true. Well, and that's what's really interesting too, because I'm looking at LSU's schedule. Next weekend they play they host Vanderbilt, and they have another Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And at first I kind of thought that Jay Johnson may be moving him to Friday just because maybe next weekend they have a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, so it doesn't really get him off of his timing. But they're facing LSU, like you said, like with the Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And so that, like you said, you think that it might be just more they have a better chance at getting a W against Mason Molina versus Hagen Smith.
I think he may think his best shot is to send his best
Mm-hmm.
against somebody else than against Arkansas's best. Because if Hagen did beat him on Thursday night, then you've got two good guys going the next 2 days, but you wouldn't have. I'm not going to call it a sure win because Mason Molina is has pitched well, and obviously Arkansas has the bullpen that's none of those starters have lost a game yet. Took a Ryder Helfrich home run to get a win in one of those games, obviously. But it's interesting that they're doing that, and I think Coach Van Horn may have had a little hint about it because he said he didn't know whether he was throwing them Thursday or Friday. But it's intriguing. They put out their notes here just a minute ago, and right now their plan is to go with TBA against Hagen Smith tomorrow night. Then have Luke Holman pitch Friday night against Mason Molina, and then Gage Jump, their sophomore, who's 2-0 with a 2.38 ERA, will face Brady Tigard on Saturday. That's the way they've got it going this weekend. 6:00 game tomorrow night on ESPN2, 7:00 game Friday night on the SEC network, and then Saturday at 2, you'll have that one on SEC Network Plus if you have a smart TV. And if you don't have a smart TV, why don't you?
Yeah, exactly. As if not, you got to have a Fire Stick or Roku, something like that. Because honestly, you're not going to get too many more games that you might have with those TVs. So you definitely need to start to get into that. I mean, like, for instance, NBC's talking about moving an NFL game to Christmas Day next year and solely on Peacock itself. So really kind of does you really need to get smart TV or something of that nature to be able to watch a lot of these games.
Yeah, Peacock's tossing out some money. I guess NBC's it's the masters behind that, but they're going to make you get Peacock. Sooner or later, you're going to have to get Peacock. We will have a lot of shows on Peacock anyway. Peacock's getting a lot more sports events on there now as well. It was kind of the Caitlin Clark channel there for a while. She's so much fun to watch. I think she got a little help the other night in the Iowa game when you look back on it, foul calls and all that. But she's such a gifted player, and I saw that Ice Cube offered her $5 million to play in the
big three.
The big three. I assume that was more than she'll get, when she signs with the WNBA. But you're going to have some additional things that will help her with the WNBA that will fill out that bank account.
Yeah, Leslie Bynum, she wasn't able to stick around for the entire episode. Had to take off. We're going to jump back on watch, but first off, a couple of things she said. Congratulations on the new grandchild, and doesn't surprise if there's 38,000 over the weekend. One, it's being Easter, and Sunday you're off, so there's more opportunities to go to some baseball games this weekend, and it's supposed to be extremely nice outside. So, I think that they're really going to be hitting the highs with those attendances this weekend.
Yeah, and I mean, you've got the number one team in the country playing here at home against the defending national champions, and while LSU's 2-4 in conference play so far this year, had a tough little go of it so far, and where they played. Florida, obviously one of the best teams in the country, beat them 2 out of 3 last week. Beat the last two, beat them in the last 2 games, and then they beat Southeastern last night 8-4, 3 home runs. Tommy White and Travinsky, their catcher, both hit one out. I think they both hit 7 this year. It's still a talented team. I don't think it's anywhere near what it was pitching wise last year. When they had so many they could just come at you, and obviously Livy Dunn's boyfriend was the main one that Paul Skeens, who went on, and I think I wouldn't be surprised to see him up with Pittsburgh later in the year because he's just so talented. He's old enough. He's a big guy. It's going to be interesting, but I don't think they're as talented as they were last year. But I still think they're a very good ball club, and you can very easily go into this. That they're going to have a sense of urgency that got a dog who doesn't like the talk of LSU, obviously. They're
See,
going to have
that's
a sense of urgency this weekend, and
yeah.
because if you're 2-4, if you don't win the series here, you're at least going to be 3-6, and then you got to go to got Vanderbilt next. That's not normal territory for them.
No, it's not. And whenever you're able to get, LSU fans have been pretty spoiled the last couple of years, especially last year. And it's a really kind of a tough pill to swallow because you have some pieces back from that national championship team. You want to see the carryover, and if you don't see the carryover, people tend to get a little touchy about that. But you just won a national championship, and I can tell you this much, and I think you know this as well. This fan base would trade a national championship for a down year the year after. Now, some might not like it, but there's a lot of people that would trade that in a heartbeat.
Well, it's the only thing that's not on Coach Van Horn's, resume. That's the last thing. I was there the night the ball dropped, and I'm not talking about New Year's Eve. I'm talking about
Nope.
Omaha they did make the catch, and obviously Oregon State came back and won that series. So they were not, they were just so disappointed they weren't able to get anything going the next night. When they still had the opportunity. It's much like the Cardinals in 1985 when they call at first base. Kansas City just went out and whipped their butts the next night, and those two are legitimate champions. But that's the big thing on the resume. And yes, I do think that there are several people around here, several fans around here, who number one would love for that to happen, win a national championship, and then if you have a bad season or a bad couple of seasons, and I think you deal with it. Also, I think there'd be plenty in our social media era these days that would bitch like crazy if they did. So.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, you're always going to have your yard. I call them yard birds, folks that chatter. They don't do anything about it, but they sit there and they chatter, and you just hear them. That's about all they do. But yeah, that's that's how it kind of goes. So
Really, I
let's
think you look back at Coach Van Horn's really just had one bad year in the 22 that he's been here, and
yeah.
that was when they lost a lot of games at the tail end of the season. Just wasn't his team was too old then. I think it didn't have the players that were getting drafted early, and had some that stayed around who were good college players, but not great college players, or they would have been drafted ahead of time.
Yep. And I know that we've talked about the disparity of scholarships with baseball versus the rest of the sports. And this is a topic that I wanted to bring up, but has NIL kind of helped close the gap a little bit on that?
I don't think so. Obviously, Vanderbilt is in a situation where they don't have to tell you how much money they're spending on baseball scholarships.
Yeah.
They've got a lot of different things they can do to help them out. I do think that, mentioning Paul Skeens, from my understanding, and I've talked to a few people about this, and Coach Van Horn has talked about it a little bit as well. Paul Skeens came here and visited, and they thought they were going to get him. Then all of a sudden, he goes down to LSU, commits down there, signs that. Think that might have been the difference last year in who won the national championship. Because if you had Skeens going in the first game against TCU, first of all, you probably wouldn't have been playing TCU. They'd have been in some other bracket, I think, and it had probably been sent elsewhere. But it's one of those things that was a big deal. I think that was NIL moment. I think they have, what they're trying to do with the Razor's Edge is certainly noteworthy, but I don't think it's been that big a deal in baseball. I think it has in some of the other sports, and that's it's going to be interesting. I'm telling you, the NIL and the transfer portal or something. We saw Jersey Wolfenbarger the other day announced that she's going to be joining Washington Post's favorite Kim Mulkey in LSU. And Talia
Yeah.
Scott, obviously, who had a family issue and didn't play the last, I think it's 6 games, and only played 19 all season. Made a comment on there, and they were inviting her down too. That would be just a tough blow to take if the leading scorer as a freshman in conference play ended up there, and a former star here ended up there. That'd be tough to take.
That would be a straight.
If you're a fan, and if you're a coach, I would say.
I was going to say that'd be a straight kick to the stones for Mike Neighbors, because I'm telling you that losing 2 of your best to LSU, I mean, that's tough. Has there been any talk of him jumping back into the portal, trying to get some more players over the off season?
Yeah, he said he, was very clear in his pre-conference for the WBIT that he thought he'd made a mistake by not doing that. I mean, obviously, if he knew three of his top players weren't going to be playing at a time when you missed jerseys. Sasha, was unable to finish out the season, and then Talia had her issues where didn't get to play because of injury and the family issue. And I think there's some valid excuses or reasons that they didn't end up where they want to go. Also, there's some valid criticisms, and he acknowledged that. I asked him the question in that press conference, and he answered it very candidly. I thought this is going to be a big year, I think, for next year, because the seats a little warm, and I think he gets that.
Yeah, yeah. And I'd like to see him get one more year, see what he can do, and then after that, make that decision. I think that's the route that Hunter Yurachek is taking with that, because let's face it, if Sam has another 4-8 season, he knows he's gone. He knows it, or a 5-7 season. So now you're having to replace two head coaches with buyouts for them and their staff, and that's just something I don't think that the university is willing to take on at this point.
Yeah, and obviously the buyout goes down for Coach Pittman if that's the situation. Next year if it does come to that, and in a similar way to how he lost the Louisiana natives to LSU, and both of them went down there and had pretty good careers. Obviously, one of them had a health issue and wasn't able to finish the year. Obviously, but that as we talk about basketball a little bit, that would be a tough perception thing for Coach Neighbors as well.
Yep, it is. So let's talk a little bit about some softball. I'm telling you that Courtney has got her girls going, but it's not quite to what you thought that might be so far. I mean, they're 24-8 on the season. They're at 500 in conference play. They're at on the road at Georgia. You've got Danielle Gibson. She's on staff. She's going back to Georgia. She was there last year. I'm sure that that's something that I don't think that that's something you could. She hasn't have any knowledge that I'm sure Courtney already knows about the team, but it doesn't hurt to have a little bit of competitive edge there. You also had the UCA game, also kind of jumping around here, that was canceled because of weather. So it gave the ladies a couple extra days off to really kind of mentally prepare for Georgia and go down there and try to get a series win.
Yeah, and it's it's going to be tough. Georgia's a good team. There's nowhere really in the SEC that you can go and just chalk up road wins. So Mississippi State came in here last weekend. I would be very surprised if if this team's not just pissed. I know their head coach, has to be. The 9-run inning that the Mississippi State had came right after the home run got taken off the board. Is the way the rules are now. That's how it works. That's how it works. If you leave the base early and then you get the home run, then that's it. It doesn't count. But that's a tough. I imagine they're going to massage that a little bit and come back with something different. I mean, maybe the batter's out, the runner scores. I don't know how that's going to work, but man, that was a tough blow. And when there's a situation like that, and also you're missing Robin Heron this past weekend as she worked to get back healthy, but you had you just basically Mississippi State had seen Arkansas's pitchers enough, and they were able to unload in that 9-run inning. And they always say one pitch, one hit, one home run doesn't decide a ball game. Well, I'm not so sure that one didn't the other day. It was a mental blow to them. They did fight back and almost kept it from being a run rule, but I know that's not what they had going into the weekend. They wanted to win obviously 2 out of 3, as you literally have to do when you're home, and obviously, probably wanted to sweep. Mississippi State has done a great job in uplifting its program and coming back from where they were a couple of years, and you got to give them a lot of credit. But I think it was a very disappointing weekend for them to lose 2 or 3 at home.
Yep, because they follow up with Missouri coming here, and Missouri's never. I mean, they've always given them a little bit of problems. They did last year as well.
Yeah, and Missouri's a
And
better team than they have been in recent years. Obviously they beat Mississippi State 2 of 3 in Missouri during the first weekend when Arkansas was not playing in conference play.
yep, and so on the road, Georgia this weekend. Next weekend, back home with the Missouri Tigers, and so. I want to go back to something really quick and you were talking about rules and stuff. Last night, Aloy was on second base, and they tried to get him out, threw it back, threw it back to second base. Guy was covering the bag and had his leg blocking it. They gave him third. Uh, is that something that Dave talks a lot about with the middle infielders at length, or just is that something that you just kind of talk about a little bit, because it was more of a natural move whenever he put his leg down than anything else.
Yeah, and that's something that Ben McLaughlin has done over there at first base a little bit too. They've had some success doing that. It was weird because here you had Little Rock and Chris Curry thinking that if they did ruling, he would get called out, and
Yeah.
they ended up in that situation with Aloy being awarded obstruction. I mean, it's one of these things. I understand why they started the whole thing with not letting you run over the catcher and giving them a path to the plate and all that, and getting hot, getting mad if you didn't. But it's getting a little wussified on the base pass now. I mean, you used to could go in and break up a double play. They don't even let you do that anymore. Go in hard. So everybody's got to be nice these days.
Yeah, and I saw on social media, I can't remember exactly to a T who it was, but there was a catcher that took in a relay into the home plate. The guy crossed the line. They still called catcher interference because he blocked the path at one point when the runner was going from third to home. Is that something that the umpires are really being ticky-tack about, or is it more of a judgment call?
Well, I think it's the stated rule, that's out there, but there's some judgment that is involved in that. It's, again, I get the the risk and all that, but you gotta still be able to play hard-nosed baseball. I mean, I think that's what most people would like to do. And we, the softball thing we talked about, I think it's ridiculous to take a home run off the board, with the runner left. Now, to me, the runner left, she's out. It's a 1-run home run.
Yeah,
that's the way I see it. You shouldn't take both of them off there, but that's what we have to see. But it's they're finessing the baseball rules a lot. I mean, I'm sure you saw what they're going to do on kickoffs in the NFL this year. That just looks weird. I mean, that's arena football, and that's what they're going to do on kickoffs, is have arena football kickoffs now in the NFL.
Yep. And, I was listening to ESPN radio this afternoon a little bit, and, they made a great point. Does Deion Sanders have the Hall of Fame career that he has if they take away that from his game? Now, don't get me wrong. He was a great lockdown corner. I was listening to Matt Jones talk about it this afternoon. But does he have an NFL Hall of Fame career if you take away kickoffs for him?
Probably, but it would have been more of a doubt, that would have been in some mind. He was flamboyant. He brought a lot to the table. I think that and his talent. I mean, this is a guy who played in a football game and a baseball game in one day. There's a lot to appreciate about him. But yeah, I mean, there are people in the Hall of Fame right now, and have gotten in recently that made their bones by basically returning kicks and then turning themselves into a useful player on offense or defense later in their career, but they first were special teams guys.
Mm-hmm. And they mentioned something too, that if the kickoff rule, since it is changed, are they going to count kickoff returns out of the end zone? Because if they stop that, Cordarrelle Patterson's 109-yard return for a touchdown will be cemented in NFL history for the rest of his life, and he has the most kickoff returns by a player in NFL history with 9.
Yeah, and he made himself into a running back basically for Atlanta, after having that success on special teams and almost even changing positions, I guess. So I hate to see that. I'm an old school guy, be it football, basketball, baseball, whatever sport. That we don't have to reinvent the wheel. There's nothing wrong with the wheel.
No, and there's not. But only thing that does worry me though too is that if the NFL's changing it, I'm sure the NCAA at some point followed up pretty quick, maybe this next offseason, that they may look at that too.
Yeah, and then it'll make its own way down to high school and then youth football.
Yeah, because and with high school football too, you can't take it out of the end zone anyway. So it's kind of like college is now kind of in that little bubble where they have their own uniqueness now with the kickoff return. So I'm sure that's going to probably change at some point.
Yeah.
Well, Dudley, let's get you out of here, man. You got baseball tomorrow night, I'm sorry, Otis has got baseball because you got a pack. You got a plane to catch.
Yes, I do. I got a football practice in the morning and a couple of things to do in the afternoon, and then it's head out.
Well, man, thank you for jumping on tonight and getting this taken care of, and we will see you next week, next Friday.
Sounds good.
All right, y'all take care. Make sure to tune in. Arkansas first game against LSU tomorrow is at 6:00. Is that correct?
Yes. And as we said, Luke Holman apparently is going to pitch the second game now instead of Luke Holman, Hagen Smith matchup.
Yep. So LSU Arkansas tomorrow night on ESPN2 at 6 p.m. The next night first pitch is at 7 p.m. on the SEC Network, followed by the series finale on Saturday at 2 p.m., which is on SEC Network Plus. So that's why we were also alluding to the whole Roku, making sure you get your smart TVs out so that you can catch the final game of the series as well. So for Dudley, myself, Jason, I want to thank you all for taking your time out of your day to jump on with us this evening. And we'll see you next Friday. Go Hogs. Take care. And Dudley, have a safe trip, my guy.
All right. Appreciate it.